We live in an age of smartphones, where users are mindlessly downloading applications and approving surveillance without even knowing. For this reason, mobile device users have been subjected to targets by malicious software. But what if an app you downloaded to your phone turned out to be a malicious entity, not just malicious software? Today, Life's Biggest Questions asks, what if SCP-1471 was real? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that asks the fundamental questions of life, and occasionally we answer them too. I'm Charlotte Dobre and I'm back at it again with another SCP video. What can I say? I can see why you guys like these. If fate somehow helped you stumble across our channel, do us a quick favor and subscribe for more daily questions, and don't forget to stick around until the end of the video where we respond to some of your comments. Before we can talk about what would happen if SCP-1471 was real, I should first tell you a little about it. Here's what you need to know. Unlike many other SCPs, SCP-1471 is a free application for mobile devices. If you search for it in an application store, it's listed as MAL over 1.0.0, but there's no listed developer for SCP-1471, and it's somehow gotten past the application approval process, heading straight for distribution. The application is very difficult to delete. Once you install SCP-1471 on your mobile device, there are no shortcuts or apps for it. What SCP-1471 does is it sends the individual images through text messaging every 3 to 6 hours. All the pictures from SCP-1471 feature a large humanoid figure with a Canid-esque skull and black hair. Definitely creepy, and definitely not something you'd want sent to your phone every 3 to 6 hours. To make matters even more creepy, after the first 24 hours of installing SCP-1471, the user's mobile device will get images taken at all the locations that particular user normally goes to. After 48 hours, the user will then receive images that were recently visited by that individual. And after 72 hours, the user will receive images of themselves that also show SCP-1471 within close proximity of the subject. Couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong. After you've been exposed to images from SCP-1471, the affected user will soon begin to visualize SCP-1471 in their peripheral vision or on reflective surfaces. If the user experiences continued exposure, they will suffer from continuous and irreversible visualizations of SCP-1471. At this point, there have been reports made by affected individuals that state that SCP-1471 attempts to make contact with them. The only known treatment for exposure to SCP-1471 is to stop an affected individual's exposure to it within 90 hours of installation. But to ease your minds, there has been no documented hostile behavior toward affected individuals from SCP-1471. One has to wonder, what does this SCP want? SCP-1471 is classified as Euclid. An SCP is classified as Euclid when its behavior can be predicted for 3 reasons. It's a sentient item, it behaves outside current scientific knowledge, or its nature is not fully understood. SCP-1471 has very specific containment procedures. Any and all mobile devices that have SCP-1471 installed must be confiscated and analyzed for any potential leads to other possibly affected devices. After this, all devices that were affected must have their batteries removed, placed in storage at Unit 91 at Research Site 45. So now that you know a little about SCP-1471, let's talk a little about what would happen if it was real. I would imagine that if an entity like this existed, individuals who came into contact with it would start to slip into a state of psychosis. How would you feel if some unknown entity was sending you pictures that show a terrifying, devilish figure within close proximity of you? Not too great, I would think. And like with the Blue Whale game and Momo, many of the people who would be affected by SCP-1471 would be children. Children who are too trusting on social media, who unknowingly engage in contact with malicious individuals and software. Children are far more likely to click a malicious link and download the app, especially when they don't know what it is. Maybe the app was sent to them via WhatsApp by one of their friends as a prank, or by an individual that they don't know. All it takes is a link, and the individual would click. Once SCP-1471 is installed, it is possible to limit an affected person's exposure as long as it's within the first 90 hours. Children are often afraid to tell their parents what they're doing on social media. They would have a hard time making sense of something like SCP-1471, and parents and guardians would have a hard time believing them. After all, they're just children. The epidemic would get out of control very quickly. At first, affected individuals would be behaving very strangely, paranoid, anxious, always looking behind them to see if someone or something is watching them. Affected individuals would then seek help from psychiatrists, then be sent to psych wards. Many individuals would likely commit suicide as a way to get away from SCP-1471. The media would then get a hold of the story, as they usually have in the past when it comes to malicious software. And once the media spreads awareness about SCP-1471, there would no doubt be curious individuals who would look up the app and download it for themselves. After all, no one knows exactly what SCP-1471 is trying to achieve, even though there haven't been any documented instances of it behaving behaving maliciously, sending terrifying pictures to affected users every 3 to 6 hours to make them think that they're being followed is malicious. Who knows, maybe some people would take matters into their own hands and do everything they could to try and contact SCP-1471 to find out what it's after. Seeing as SCP-1471 is an app that can't be deleted, it's likely that all phones who have downloaded the app will have to be confiscated. To limit its exposure, governments will start to ban the download of SCP-1471 and will only be accessible on places like the dark web, where it would remain and be forgotten, until one day in the future, it all begins again. And now I open up the question to you, dear subscribers. What do you think would happen if SCP-1471 was real? Let me know in the comments. For now, I'm going to respond to some comments from my last SCP video, what if SCP-1865 was real? Hippo Platypus said, good job on your video. Hey, thanks a lot. Annie and all compliments are always appreciated. DX Gaming said just finished the vid and at the end she's kinda sassy. Like jerky sassy, but nice vid. I have been known to be rather sassy, but the queen of sass is undoubtedly Rebecca Felgate. Oops Steely said all SCPs are real. I certainly hope not. I think the thing I like most about SCPs is that they're relatable, and they seem real, and they ignite your imagination. 66 Survivor said, you did great, Charlotte. Oh, why thank you, I'm glad you liked the video. That is all for this video, but if you enjoyed it, you should check out the playlist that's currently flashing on your screen. And obviously, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and I will see you in a future episode of Life's Biggest Questions.